Okay, I just wanted to show you how to get started with R in case you haven't worked with it before. Really, we're going to be using the programmed R as well as what's called R Studio. So we're just going to go to Google here and search for download R Studio. We search, I get this top one here that says R Studio Desktop from posit.co. I'll put a link in the module so you have it, but that's one we want to go with. And let's talk about what R and R Studio are. R is just a fancy schmancy calculator. So it's going to help you do basic things like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, but you can also do more sophisticated analysis, summarizing data, comparing groups, that kind of thing. In this case, we're going to be talking about how to do data visualizations with R. Really, we're not going to obsess over too much of doing analysis within R, but if you have questions, we have the office hours consultant, as well as I'm here to help you, so be sure to email us and reach out while you're going through things. This is just to get you started for some real basics working in R. So why R in R Studio? If you see in the middle here, we've got 1, install R, 2, install R Studio right in the middle of the screen here. R itself is just a program, it's a calculator. But it's a little bit difficult to use. So that's why we have R Studio. R Studio is just meant to make R a little bit easier to work with. So I'd recommend installing both of these. You can click on each of these links. I've already gotten them installed, so I'm not going to click on them. But R is completely free. So don't worry about pricing or anything. You're good to go. That's one of the reasons I like R. After you download R and R Studio, then we can pull it up and you should get something that looks kind of like this. So there should be 4 quadrants here. So the top left, this is going to be where we write a program. The bottom left is called the console. And so this is where we get output for anything we create. To the bottom right here, it says plots. This is where our charts are going to show up. And up here in the top right it says environment, and this is just going to have data and things in there. We don't need to obsess over all this. If you want more background on R itself, you can always look on YouTube. There's lots of videos on this kind of thing. Uh, but that's really just to get started here. I'm going to go to this it's a little white sheet of paper with a plus sign next to it. And if you put your mouse over it in the top left here, it'll say new file. So I'm going to say new file in the top left. I'm going to say new R script. It's the first option. You can also type Control-Shift-N on your keyboard. And what that's going to do is it's going to give me a new program. We can write whatever we want in here. And that's the goal, is that we're going to start a new program to help start making some charts. So part of the reason that R is helpful is because it's crowdsourced. So anybody can write their own program and share it with everybody else, and you can benefit from all the programs everybody has worked on. That's why R is great. Another reason R is really helpful is if you have questions. One, of course, go to Office Hours Consultant, talk to me, but you can also Google things. R has a lot of tutorials and explanations and forums online because it's a crowdsourced program. So there's a lot of people who want to help other people out there. The way that you can get started in R is a little bit odd. You have to do what's called installing a package. So a package just means a program that you want to use. So in this case, we're going to be using ggplot to create charts. And so that's ggplot2 is what the package is called, all lowercase. And so if I want to get started and I haven't used R before, I'm going to type out install.packages. And I'm going to do in parentheses. And within those parentheses, we'll type out ggplot2 in quotes. And something to keep in mind here. Notice that install.packages, it's all lowercase. Notice that ggplot2 is all lowercase. R is case sensitive. So if you have a capital I on install packages, it's not going to work. In this case, we want it to be all lowercase. So this is, if you haven't worked with R before, you'll want to run this. So you select it and you can click the run button in the top right section here. You can also type Control and the Enter key on your keyboard if you prefer. I'm not going to write because I already have it installed. But what that's going to do is it's going to download from the internet all the code that someone else wrote to make all these cool charts. And you only have to run this one time, but it'll bring it so that it's saved local to your computer. What you will need to do is we're going to write out library, and then in parentheses, ggplot2. So library, again, R is case sensitive, so library is all lowercase, and ggplot2 is all lowercase. This time we don't need the quotes around it, but we still need it to be in the parentheses. And what this is going to do is it's going to say, all right, I already have downloaded the package. When I did the install packages statement, that downloads the package to my local machine. But I want to use ggplot, so I'm going to do this library statement. So if I select it and click run, it's going to bring it up into like working memory. So it's going to say my computer is ready to use ggplot. You can also hit Control Enter to do that. And notice here down in the bottom left, the console, it says library ggplot2. This just is confirming, yep, you ran that bit of code. And sometimes you'll get little messages down here in case there's a problem or some notes while it's bringing the package into your library. But that's just letting you know, FYIs. So that's the idea of how R works. Oftentimes you start by downloading and installing packages using the install packages function, and then we do the library statement to say, we're going to use something now. In terms of what we can do with R, really there's lots of options. So here's just a little background on how to use R as a calculator. We can do real simple calculator functions. If you want to do 2 plus 2, we can just type that out, 2 plus 2. And I can select that and click the run button, and we should get 2 plus 2 equals 4. And here it comes in the console, 2 plus 2, and the output is 4. This is real simple how R works like this. We can do 2 minus 2, and 2 minus 2 equals 0. Any basic calculator function. We could do 2 squared with the little caret symbol. 2 squared is 2 times 2, so 4. That's the real basics that you can start with R for any basic calculator function. The real value of R, though, is what's called an object. So let's say that I want to create, save something for later. I'm going to create what's called an object. And let's say I want to hold on to a value called X. I'm going to say X is equal to 10. And so if I run this, it's going to pop up here in the console saying I ran this, X equals 10. But notice in the environment, now we have a record here, a value of X corresponds to 10. And what's really helpful is now if I just look at X and select the X that we just defined equal to 10, and I hit the run button or Control Enter, what happens in the output? If I look at X, it's going to give me a value of 10. If I want to do X minus 2, 10 minus 2 should give me 8. So if I run that, X minus 2 in the console here gives us a value of 8. This is really why R is super helpful. We can save information as an object and then go back and do little calculations on it, save it for later. And that's what makes it super helpful. In terms of reading data in, oftentimes that's what we'll do is we'll save it as an object. So we'll say, all right, we've got a data file in here that we want to save at, and we can access the individual variables in the data file and do calculations on them, make charts on them, so on and so forth. By having it as an object, then we can pull up that information for later. In terms of reading data in, we can go up to the top left here. There's a little drop-down menu. So if we click on File, and we can do Import Data Set, and you got a bunch of options here. So if you got like a text file with your data stored in it, you can do that. You can import from Excel. So that'll mean, if you have an Excel file with your data, if you've worked with SPSS or Stata or SAS, you can do any of those files. It's up to you. It's designed to make it as easy as possible. Reality is, I know sometimes getting data into a computer can be a pain in the butt. If you're having trouble with that, let us know. We'll help you figure it out because sometimes it is a little bit tricky. But that's the idea, is we can save data, call it data, or whatever you want to. We'll have an object for the data. And then we can create charts based on the data or do calculations on the data. That's really the whole process of working in R. All right, that's what I got for now. We're going to do a second video in a moment. looking at how to specifically work with ggplot and how the code works. All right, thanks.